Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Angie Morfogan, and my pronouns are she and her. I serve as the chair of the Aesthetics Committee and serve on the Worship Committee. Our Aesthetics Committee brings periodic art shows in addition to seasonal decor. We are a fun group and welcome new members. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. This morning, we welcome a guest minister, Reverend Rosemarie Newberry, who is a retired UU minister. She has been a member of UUCMC for over 30 years, and she lives in Red Bank. I draw your attention to the back of your orders of service for announcements and service information for the next week. For those on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. After the service, refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do check out our website, UUCMC.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope.
Good morning, everybody. I will be playing a piece by the French Impressionist pianist and composer Maurice Ravel, the Minuet, which is a multi-movement suite, and the Minuet is one of the movements from La Tombeau de Couperin, which means the tomb of Couperin. Couperin was a French Baroque composer, and he's modeling this neo-Baroque, what we would call neoclassical style, modeling the expression, the ornamentation, and the dance suite style of each movement. But Ravel dedicated each movement to a friend that he knew and served with in World War I that passed away. So I chose this today for Memorial Day weekend, and each is a friend he knew well and helped and even stayed with him. Ravel was one of the few of his friend groups that survived, and it is a continuation of the medley I was playing this morning. They were all wartime symphonies or pieces, either World War I or World War II, by Ravel and Vaughan Williams, who in a subtle way were always writing music as a call to action on the atrocities of war violence and the friends they remembered who they lost.
Good morning. It is so great to see all your faces, those that I know and recognize, and those that are new to me. So let us take an additional moment before we start our worship, remembering that this is Memorial Day weekend. This is the time that many of us take to honor our ancestors by going to visit their burial sites. I grew up taking flowers that were fresh cut from my mother's garden, putting them inside a glass pickle jar to take to my father's grave. My father died when I was 4 years old. This weekend is also about barbecues and parades, softball and hikes, planting, start of the summer movie blockbusters, parades, and maybe even hoping to catch a good sail. And if it was maybe a little warmer, it would be the start of the beach and swimming pool season. So many choices. But you chose to be here. Thank you. Your presence adds to our experience of being here together, our sense of community, your love, your shine, your generosity, and all that stuff that you bring. We welcome all of it. Worship doesn't exist without you, every one of you. And thank you for bringing your whole selves here today to this sacred space. Our chalice lighters today are the Riley couple. Would you please come up and help us light this chalice? If you haven't met them, they're relatively new, and they're great people, I hear. So we light this chalice as a symbol of our faith of justice, transformation, equity, interdependence, with love at its center, and at the center of our being, our gatherings, and how we structure our organizations. This symbol is used by Unitarian Universalists, and Universalist churches and congregations around the world. By lighting this chalice and this flame, we warm our hearts with love that we give and receive, and we spread our light towards freedom and justice. Thank you. Thank you both. Rise as you're able. For hymn number 1028, Fire of Commitment.
When the fire of soul ablaze. When our hunger and our passion meet to call us on away. When we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic form, which demands a deeper blastings built of our courageous joy. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
And our story wisdom is The Hug Machine by Scott Campbell. And I'm going to read and describe the illustrations. So, whoa, here I come. I am the hug machine. I am very good at hugging, and the narrator, a young boy, is hugging his mother who's holding a frying pan. Then the best at hugging, and he's holding his father who's reading the newspaper. No one can resist my unbelievable hugging. It looks like he's hugging an older sister who's sort of tolerating it. I am the hug machine. My hugs calm people down. He's hugging a policeman. They cheer them up. He's hugging a woman who's doing gardening. They make them go completely nuts, and he's hugging a man holding a bag, hugging a little girl holding a balloon, hugging a big woman, hugging a thin woman with a guitar. I hug everything I see. He's hugging a fire hydrant and a park bench and a mailbox. No one escapes the hug machine. That includes the tree he's hugging. My hugs make the biggest feel small. He's hugging a bear. The smallest feel big, and he's bent over hugging a smiling turtle. I hug soft things. He's hugging a sheep. Hard things, he's hugging a boulder. Square things, he's hugging an ice cream truck. And long things, and he's hugging a long snake. I am the hug machine. The narrator sees a baby with a spilled bottle of milk, crying, "Oh, do you need a hug? I think you do." So he hugs the baby, who's now smiling. Hug accomplished. There's nothing the hug machine will not hug. What about me? I'm so spiky. No one ever hugs me, says the porcupine. After putting on a face shield, an apron, and oven mitts, the narrator hugs the porcupine. They are missing out. What about me, says the whale. Surely I am too big for you to hug. Of course not. The narrator gets a ladder and climbs the ladder, hugs the whale from the tip of his head all the way down to the base of his tail. Not for the hug machine. People often ask what the hug machine eats to keep the hugging energy high. Well, the answer is pizza. The hug machine likes pizza very much. Refueled and ready for action. And there's a squiggly map going through the neighborhood. And the hug machine is hugging a woman with her kids, a bunch of kids, squirrels in the tree, a man playing a trumpet, people at a picnic, people at the water fountain, or a teacher with a group of kids, the construction men at the park, the jogger, the kid on the roller skates with a boom box, the man mowing the lawn, he's moved to the neighborhood now, the nice old lady with the tray of lemonade, the postman, the jogger, the kid on the skateboard, and the dog, as well as the woman walking the dog. Hug. Whew, what a tiring day of hugging. The hug machine is exhausted. The hug machine can hug no more. And the hug machine is hugging his mother. Oh, why yes, you may hug the hug machine. Hug machine is always open for business. And kids, just remember, before hugging, you need to ask permission first. Before the children leave for ARIA, I just want to mention that they're going to be making posters for Pride in Asbury Park for Pride Day. And let us sing the children out. Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of May is the T. Thomas Fortune Foundation in Red Bank, which serves to preserve the National Historic Landmark home of T. Thomas Fortune as a cultural center and gathering place for education, research community engagement, organizing, and celebration. Plan a trip there soon. You'll be amazed at all they have to offer. Your generosity helps this treasure. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to the T. Thomas Fortune Foundation. Please give generously.
Before I start the sermon, I feel that there's just something missing in this service, that this is a nice size for it. When we're packed, it gets to be a bit much. But that is, greet your neighbor. We haven't always done that here, but I think that just kind of turn around. You can give, a shake a hand, do an elbow, ask permission if you want to do a hug, but say hello to your neighbor. Oh, that puts smiles on people's faces. Yeah, it's raised the spirit a little in here, I think. Well, anyway, it's my preference. So, I know many of you, and if not, I look forward to getting to know you better or more. But I've spoken here many times on spiritual practice and spiritual growth. It's kind of my jam. Favorite themes of mine. I've preached on spiritual practices like beauty, gratitude, ambiguity, and all kinds of others. And I think that teaching these spiritual practices, and specifically practices that are Unitarian Universalist, is a central component of religious life. And it seems our collective community agrees, because when we look at the missions that's on the back, isn't that on the back page? It usually is. But we are here for transforming ourselves and transforming the world. Creating community, transforming ourselves, transforming the world. That was created by the community. And so I believe that spiritual practices, growing our soul, is part of that, transforming ourselves. And I think it's a necessary component to support the mission of transforming the world. Transformation is a key value that our national organization of congregations has recently covenanted together. You may have heard or seen our newer symbol that talks about justice, transformation, and a total of 6 values that we covenant together with love at the center. The Reverend Earl Morris Wilbur, he's one of our renowned Unitarian historians, wrote and spoke in his 1920 Berry Street essay. The Berry Street essays are specifically ministers that are chosen once a year, that they give this sermon topic to the ministers. And in that Berry Street essay, he reminds us of the value of the original, and it might be not original, but foundational in our history of freedom, reason, and tolerance. That was our Trinity: freedom, reason, and tolerance. On the Unitarian side, Unitarian Universalism didn't merge until 1960s. So I'm speaking, Morris Wilbur was a Unitarian historian. And those three were the breaking away for us Unitarians from classical Christianity. Well, except maybe I'd say tolerance was part of the New Testament, still is part of the New Testament, but we don't see it in action. Not back in the 20s, not back in the 19th century, and not today. But even the new Pope, Leo XIV, has noted how tolerance has been missing. So it's not just us that have seen tolerance missing. And some say we Unitarians gave up God and Christ, but we kept that Holy Spirit. Reason, tolerance, spirit. No conflict. These exist together, but also separately. Now, I like this Walt Whitman piece, and I think it illustrates the relationship and maybe the dichotomy of reason and spirit. And it's so Unitarian in my view. Whitman wrote this in 1865, when I heard the learned astronomer. Now, I may read this twice. No, I'm going to let you know I am going to read this twice. So in case you missed something, you'll catch it the second time around. When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I, sitting, heard the astronomer, where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon, unaccountable, I became tired and sick. Till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars. So I'm going to read it again. When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I, sitting, heard the astronomer, where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon, unaccountable, I became tired and sick. Till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars. Now, isn't that most of us? We enjoy a lecture on science with proofs and formulas, data and charts. Oh, so reasonable, applauding that TED Talk, and still left with something missing. Something something that my spirit is lacking. It's not fed. Whitman, I think, illustrates that it was not there almost 200 years ago, and it still isn't. That's why I seek spiritual practices. I seek to feed my soul. I seek to share with you so you can learn practices to feed your soul. And I'm not the only one around here with these ideas. Besides the ministers that you know, Reverend Craig, of course, and the Reverend Julie Newhall, who's a member like I am, there are members here that have shared much. And I should have asked you beforehand, but I think Maxine Gunther, with her Tai Chi and her gratefulness practices, has given much to many of us. And I have witnessed many, many, many examples of love and generosity, beauty and covenant. And I'm a member because of the commitment to transforming our soul. I see it and I feel it every time I'm here or on Zoom. Yet something is happening outside in our culture. It's been sneaking up on us and we may not have noticed. Now, right now, I am not talking about fascism and the injustices that go with it. I'm going to stay narrowly focused on reason and spirituality, more specifically, science and our soul. Now, Meta and Google know my search history and provide me with all kinds of ads and extra hints and places to go that might interest me. I can click any one of them and go down a rabbit hole that I don't show up again for hours or days. Anybody familiar with that, going down that rabbit hole? Yeah, right? Okay, so that's what happened when I clicked on 8 hugs a day. I ended up down this rabbit hole. And there are hundreds of websites that claim that research has proved the value of 8 hugs a day, but they didn't reference the research. With my background, I want to read the science, I want to see the charts, I want to understand the experimental model. I've had a lot of training in mathematics, statistics, and experimental design that I can judge the science before I pass on things to you, for sure, and before I take them to myself. So here is the 8 hugs a day story, as I think I understand it, because I tried not to stay in that rabbit hole too long. Virginia Satir, she's a well-known, not to me, but well-known family therapist, and she's the one that's attributed to saying we need 4 hugs a day for survival, we need 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and we need 12 hugs a day for growth. Now, I think she developed this practice probably as early as 2008, or developed this thought. And she's published over 7 books and lots of articles, and I didn't find and didn't read all those books. That's when you stay in the rabbit hole too long. But if I think about it, now she's a family therapist, so she's gonna go it with qualitative instead of quantitative. But if you're nursing an infant, if you had one like mine, you're nursing every 2 hours on the 2 hours for the first 6 weeks. And 12 hugs a day for growth, you could watch that baby grow. It was just like, so I kind of get where that, basis of where that may have come from, relating to infants and feeding them and, not just propping up the bottle, and research that was done about orphanages where children were not given a lot of physical touch. But what I didn't find was the quantitative work from Satir. But I did find that there's other researchers measuring the oxytocin levels before and after hugs. They could either do it with your saliva or they could do it with blood test. One researcher, and you go down a rabbit hole and then you can't find it again. Well, that's what happened but took blood work before and after with a bunch of college students, males and females, measuring oxytocin. For those who might not know, it's also called the mothering hormone or sometimes called the love hormone. But when I nursed my babies, I remember vividly this rush of hormones every time I nursed that little one. I could feel my mood calming, my muscles relaxing, my heart slowing down. And I would just take this deep sigh. Now, I know I'm not the only one that has experienced it, but that hormone is powerful, really powerful. So for scientists to now study the impact of higher levels of oxytocin in adults, they've also studied dopamine, called the happy hormone, in adults too. So Baptist Health has a website listing several ways to increase dopamine levels. Exercise, the right diet, and what used to be called spiritual practices, meditation, and music. Gretchen Rubin wrote the book, The Happiness Project. You may have heard of that. She sends out a weekly newsletter. She's a psychotherapist, and her newsletter of What's Making Gretchen Happy, as well as practical tips, research, and resources about how we can make our lives happier, healthier, more productive, and more creative. There's also scientific research on gratitude, generosity, mindfulness, and meditation. I'm talking about quantitative research, measuring hormones, taking brain scans. And more research is being done every day. The research on the blood levels of oxytocin in these college students before and after a hug, I think was dated 2023. So this is new research. Some of it, it's like you can't keep up. The research is happening so new to us. But not everybody's looking at brain scans. Now, Brené Brown has been a favorite of mine for many years. Who's a big Brené Brown favorite? Yeah, there's a few of us. Now, she comes from the social worker standpoint. So we have got psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, family therapists. We've got quite a range, but also religious community. So she uses research from social work, field work, which is data collected from many interviews. Now, she's taken a break from her podcast, which I really miss because I listened to it weekly during the lockdown. And in her podcast, she had these amazing people that she interviewed, and she had great practices for relationships, personal or corporate. And I've incorporated many of her teachings in my life. Thank you, Brené. I'm going to tell you one of them that I think is her and her husband they've got kids at home, they've got aging parents, 2 busy practices. He is, I think, a pediatrician. So they're busy adults. When they get home, the first thing, when they check in, the first thing they say is, okay, how much you got? And usually it's kind of 50-50, right? They're level, they're doing really good, but they check in. But there are some days where one of them's only got 20%. It's like, I can't. And the other one could be at 20% also, and then they have to figure out what they're going to do. Or one of them says, I got your back. Now, I see this in this community because we'll get together and say, how are you doing? Okay, I got your back. I remember when my late husband was very ill. Somebody delivered every Wednesday, which was the day of chemo, delivered a meal to the front stoop of our house, and we didn't know that person. And I didn't meet that couple until after Kurt had died. So there's somebody here that's got your back. Or if we're doing committee meetings, sometimes we have to say, I need somebody to get, to help me out, or we just need to step up and say, I got your back. But back to this, something significant is changing that we might not have noticed. Researchers can now measure the awe that Whitman felt when he looked at the stars. They can now tell him which hormones were elevated and how to elevate them using other methods to achieve that same feeling of awe and wonder and connected to the universe. And I believe as the more that science advances into these areas of the spirit, that more people will stay away from religious organizations. We know from the data that the largest growing sector of affiliation is spiritual but not religious. There at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, has a center called the Greater Good Center. And it's researching and teaching science-based practices for a meaningful life. Science-based practices for a meaningful life. It's a big university, and this center is big. Now think about this for a minute. Finding meaning was part of our religious life, part of growing our souls. We hear about it frequently in Christian churches. What is my purpose? Now this aspect of religious life has been moved to science and reason. And the answer could be just as simple as raise your hormone levels, and this is how you do it. I think that we're going to have even more of a religious crisis than we do now. People seem to be less and less in need of a religious organization. So have you considered, what is the response to the comment, transform myself? I don't need a religious organization for that. I could do that on my own. Right? Transformation has become out in the culture, outside of religion. But I believe that true and lasting transformation only occurs in community, and community that is committed to transformation and growing our souls. Humans are creatures that live in groups. Isolation may be needed for creativity, but that's not all of life. We are looking for our tribe, and I hope you found it here. And if you stuck around 30 years or more like I have, you found it. We still have to figure out how to manage in groups of people that may have very different values than us. So like the kids' PTA group, the kids, I can only think of kids examples, but the library book club, right? Those are people that may have different values, and we still have to figure out how to interact with them. We're not isolated where we can just transform ourselves. You know, our children still need to be raised, organizations need to function, and here we can learn from other parents and other adults that have the same values. I know several of you have developed leadership through your participation in this religious organization. Leadership was not something you did, I'll say, out there, but you developed those skills here. And thank you for learning and providing that gift of leadership here. And your leadership and your participation in this community has made a difference in the whole world. Yes, you have made a difference. By participating here, you've made a difference in the whole world. And I believe this is the place where you bring your whole self. A book club, a sports team, or a civic organization requires only part of ourselves. And then when you get home, you get to complain about your frustrations and your disappointments. But if you have frustrations and disappointments here, you got somebody that'll give you a hug, say, I got you, I got your back. So bring it on. Who was I talking to before? Bring on those frustrations and disappointments. We love, sounds weird, but we do love your sadness and your brokenness. That's your whole self. Bring it on, bring it here. We love celebrating your accomplishments and your joy. Tell us about that. Bring your whole selves here, because you might not be able to do it in other places. And we have a faith that will transform the world, and we have a religious community that supports that transformation and supports transforming each other. So take a breath or two or three or four. Just calm your heart rate down a little and listen to this poem as our meditation today. It's by Joy Harjo. She was our United States Poet Laureate. I definitely know it was during Obama's time. I'm not sure the full length of her gift to us, but this is called Eagle Poem. I will read it only once. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see or can't hear. Can't know except in moments steadily growing and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky and wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe knowing we are truly blessed because we were born, and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty. May it be so. Michael, do you think we could do this song sitting? I think that would be a good idea. Huh? So remain seated for hymn number 1052.
I know this song may be a bit unfamiliar, although the evidence shows here with the photocopies in preparation for no page turns, it has been done before here. But it very much lacks a formal rhythm. Think of it as a James Taylor song. It just goes through very through composed. But as soon as Reverend Rosemarie told me her theme, I thought of this song immediately. It's our beloved UU musician, Jim Scott, composed this. And it's a song that talks about the oneness of everything. It feels so center to a Unitarian Universalism. With all the explanations and definitions and things science can prove, as the Reverend just mentioned in her sermon, there's still something that feels out of reach. It is that spirit, that divine, which I think Jim captures so well in this song, particularly in the last verse.
Far beyond the grasp of hand, or light to meet the eye, past the reaches of the mind, there find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined. Like the bird whose patterns find the truth, that we might understand and reduce to terms defined. Vast and immeasurable time and space, also overwhelmingly desire. Oh, passing years, just might I know the faith that winters in the heart, to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life enters my soul as a song to sing. Oneness of everything, of the oneness of everything.
For the oneness of everything. May you feel that oneness as you travel through your days, and then find it again when you return. Bless you all.